Our first presenter is Ralph Rosen, Professor of Classical Studies, who has been at Penn since 1983. He's a scholar of ancient Greek literature and intellectual history with special interests in ancient satire and Greco-Roman medicine. He has served in a host of administrative roles, including chair, graduate chair, and undergraduate chair of classical studies, founding director of the Center for Ancient Studies, and co-founder of the Penn Leiden Colloquia on Ancient Values. Today he will be sharing his thoughts on Facebook and its capabilities for reaching students outside class time. Please join me in welcoming Ralph Rosen.
Great, thank you very much. It's a great pleasure to be here. It may seem a little paradoxical to have a classicist stand up here and talk about cutting-edge technologies, but I can resolve that paradox by just pointing out that classicists are text-driven disciplines and are always obsessed with words and letters and data of that sort. And so as a discipline, we've actually been right up front in our desire, our appetite to corral as much new technology as possible. In fact, I remember when I first came here, we had big spools of tape of all the ancient Greek texts that people were just trying, a big server somewhere down in During Lane, I think it was, where people were trying to actually manipulate the textual data to do word searches and things like that. Now, of course, those rows and rows, I don't know, probably 40 feet of tapes are on one little CD that you could practically put on a flash drive now. So it's pretty amazing how far we've come. But I've long been interested in that kind of technology, but in more recent years, ever since the beginning of Facebook, which as you know is what I want to talk about, I've just really been fascinated by it in all sorts of ways. And I'm not a sociologist or anthropologist by profession, but there's going to have to be some major study of this pretty soon, because what I've found so interesting about it is just the way it blurs the personal and the professional, for one, and everything in between. And I'm also fascinated by what it brings out in different people, and particularly people of my generation. People who are not young, it's associated with the young. There's no reason why it ought to be associated with the young, as far as I can tell. Just another tool like anything else. But it's interesting to me in talking to people to see what kinds of, how sort of personalities correlate to whether their willingness to use it and how they use it. And so that's a little bit of a sideline. But the other thing I want to say before I talk to you about what I'm doing is that the one thing I find most exciting about social media and things like Facebook, from a professional point of view, is that it brings academic discourse, or the potential for academic discourse, and pedagogy. It brings up some relevant issues to the classes, because Facebook will not let me put a title in there with a C, spelling scandal with scandal, because it's one of their forbidden words for some reason. I'm not kidding. It's the most bizarre thing. It said, you cannot use this word, scandalous, as a title. So I said, aha, I'll spell it with a K. Which, of course, is how it would have been spelled in Greek anyway, in its original. So that, of course, brings up pedagogically one of the first things one can talk about in class, which is exactly what this class is about, which is the arts, which transgress and push norms and push boundaries. And it's really a class about aesthetics and classicizing. So we're constantly going back and forth, comparing ancient scandalous arts with modern scandalous arts. Some contemporary, some more historical and sort of post, sort of early modern and later periods. It's really often about the effects of classicizing on things. So it's both a classics class and a kind of aesthetics class. So I know I don't want to spend too long on this, but here's what the page looks like. And you can see, let me just see if we can start from the beginning. I apologize for some of the scandalous material that's up here. This goes with the territory. One of the disadvantages to Facebook, and I don't know a way around this, and maybe you do, is that everything you post is in a certain order. So the first time I ran this, first time I tried this was last year in '09, and the other thing is I can't change they won't let me change the title of it either. So it's always going to say '09 unless I guess I just take it down and start all over again. So that's a minor problem, but we start right at the beginning, and you have to tell the students from the first day in September. You can see when these are posted, '09 September. These are all correlated to, actually I think there's even older ones, sorry. These are all correlated to the syllabus. So you start from the very end, and then as you go through the syllabus, there are relevant visual materials to the class. And we're obviously not going to go through all of them, but every year there's some flashpoint, there's some new scandalous thing out there, which makes it right up to the moment, which has been really useful. But the problem is, I haven't figured out a way to insert it at the right moment. So the newer stuff that I post is right up at the top, or stuff I think that you saw that there's a William S. Burroughs YouTube clip at the top, but it's only at the top because I found it only the other week, relevant to something we were doing last week, and it's kind of out of order. So there are some technological limitations as far as I can tell, unless I don't know enough about how to use it, but I haven't figured that out. Anyway, so you can see perhaps the kind of stuff that's up here. There's everything from little newspaper articles that we might not get to in class, which is I'll tell them, hey, I just posted something up here which is relevant to our discussion. Have a look at it. It's not something that's going to be on the exam. I mean, you can see the other thing that usually is on their mind. But you might find it, complementary to what we're talking about. Here's famous stuff, article about Andres Serrano and his Christ controversy, which actually has some Philadelphia connections from the 80s. Trying to find some more ancient things. Robert Mapplethorpe, also you're familiar with these, and this, I forget what's on this. Oh, now, here's an old link. Here you go. One of my favorite ones is watching Frank Zappa on Crossfire, which was actually one of the foundational videos for the whole class. Some of you may remember this. This is from the 80s when he was involved in his anti-censorship campaign, and it's just, so, yeah, you can just go right to it, and don't worry, I won't show any of it. This is how it would work. Crossfire from 1986. We show it in a class after we've read Plato, books 2 and 3 of the Republic, which is strikingly similar to the debate that's going on here, except this is a little more comic relief. Not always intentionally, by the way. Anyway, so here's that, and there's a couple. Then this when we're talking about Frank Zappa, the students don't know who the heck he is, really. I always take a show of hands. Maybe 2 or 3 of them have heard of him. So I added stuff for outside of class. Here you can see the Mothers of Invention from 1967, and there's even some clips from when he was on the Steve Allen show when he was 20 years old back in 1964, I think it was, which is really interesting to see, playing the bicycle as a musical instrument, just as a kind of foreshadowing of his later career. Funny things here that are also supplementary. Archaic Greek song. This is actually from the Penn Sound website. I don't know where Al Filreis found these guys, but these guys are setting to music Greek fragmentary poems that we actually work on in this class because they're incredibly scandalous. And I mean, these guys, I think they like the Poems is a good one. So. So you can, where's the volume?
I see podium on the right side of the lectern.
Oh,
With a heron on the right, I went to a red
yeah, totally goofy, but this is poetic stuff from the 6th century BC in fragmentary form. This one, I mean, if we played it through, you'd hear there's obscenity, and it's all about having, this guy having this illicit affair with another woman, and yet, it's good old classical Greek poetry that people have seen fit to kind of sing about. So the students, juxtapose these things in class, and they can see a lot of this. It's a lot of supplementary stuff like this that they can get to, and I tell them about, even though we're not doing them in class. A little clip from Family Guy, which is about the FCC and about censorship and obscenity. It's sort of comic, it's sort of a parody of that. We just saw this last week, which is this clip from Cecil B. DeMille's film, The Sign of the Cross, which has a 10-minute gladiator scene. So, I'm not going to show it. And in a section of the class, when are we running out of time? Yeah, okay. In a section of the class where we're talking about representations of violence and the scandal of violence. So I should probably leave it at that, but you're all welcome to, if you're on Facebook, you don't have to be my friend to get to it. But I think you do have to be a user of Facebook. Type in Scandal with a K, you'll get it, and you can become a fan of it or whatever it is that you like it or something like that, and you can kind of view all of these clips. There's a lot of stuff up here, and if you like scandalous things, you might find it interesting. So we'll leave it at that. Okay.